Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Cologne podcast. I'm Myke.
And I'm Ryan.
And today, well, first of all, we're two best friends. We're on a journey. We're smelling fragrances. We're giving you uneducated opinions. That's what we do 3 times a week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. It's up there. Go check it out. But today, we're not doing that.
No, we're not. We're not doing that at all.
No. We are joined by the second greatest fragrance YouTuber in the world, according to Jeremy Fragrance circa 2019.
Good Lord. We're big time now.
Yeah. You guys thought, go and look at our subs right now on YouTube. You thought we were going nowhere.
Yeah, now we have 49.
We started from the bottom. Now we're here. But either way, let's go ahead, Ryan, and let's introduce our guest of the day, George, the Fragrance Apprentice. How you doing, George?
I'm very well. How are you?
Doing well. A little bit of a time difference. I know that you guys, it's a little bit later. It's mid-afternoon here for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, I've got quite a few friends in the United States, so time is just sort of no object anymore.
Right.
I have to say to my girlfriend, I'm going to be calling my good friend Ashton. Oh, when? Oh, 11 o'clock in the evening. Don't worry about it. You go to bed, honey. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'll just speak to my internet friends.
There you go. Well, I mean, that's kind of the fragrance community is spread out kind of far and wide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even though it is kind of all-encompassing, it is rather small compared to other online communities.
Yes, I'm a big fan of a channel called Yes Theory. If you've ever heard of them, they're like a travel YouTube channel. They've got I think they just crossed 7 million. And they were talking to this guy, and they were like, please, guys, go and subscribe to him. He's a smaller channel. He's only got 500,000 subscribers. Oh, poor him. What a shame. What a charity case over here. Yeah. Meanwhile, like, you know, I think that the second most subscribed, I don't know if is it Ashton now? I don't know, but he's got
quite a bit. I think
almost 200,000. Yeah.
200, exactly. But for us, that's like, oh my
massive.
God.
Yeah,
huge.
But I don't even think that. I mean, if a travel channel went to Yes Theory with 200,000, they'd be like, "Oh, you're not even worth it." You know.
And here we are
when you get some real views. Yeah,
we're talking to number 2 as of 2019. Jeremy Fragrance listed you as number 2, so we've got the second best.
I'm sorry that you couldn't afford Ashton. I'm terribly sorry.
We're collecting coffees right now. BuyMeACoffee.com/Cologne podcast. Help us get the one and only Ashton from Gin Sense on.
Give them the money. All right. I mean, the fact that they've got me, it's not good enough. Come on, give them the money.
We'll just take what we can get, you know. Not at all. In fact, I'll go ahead and bring it up. We had talked about before we were recording. You had mentioned that the Millésime Impérial review that we did.
And I'm still here. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I know. That you sent me, I sent you a message on Instagram and said, hey, here's an example of one of our episodes. We'd love to have you on. And then you said, well, I was going to, but then I listened to your Millésime Impérial review and you were a little concerned after that.
Well, you know, and I referenced it on the Creed Viking Cologne video because that episode and your words made me think. It was actually kind of shocking when he said, well, you know, George, if just because George likes it, it's his favorite, that doesn't mean that you should go and buy it. And I thought to myself, well, first of all, that man's talking sense. He's right. But as we were talking very briefly before the recording, I'm still a little bit in the mindset that I'm just this, you know, silly bloke who's uploading fragrance videos. And, you know, I care about it. And you know, filmmaking is something that I'm very interested in. I really try and weave the filmmaking background and skills. And I try to tell a story, but, you know, it's not a film set it's me with my camera and a couple lights, and I do feel as though, I'm just having fun, and it's just YouTube. And that's how I'd seen it for 5 years. And the success, I suppose, if you could call it that, only happened in the past 2 years, where FragCom suddenly exploded. And it never, because of that, when you speak, you don't feel as though you're being taken too seriously. You feel as though everything that you're saying is being taken with a pinch of salt. But, and I think that's sort of like a self-humbling thing, Well, there's one individual in the FragCom who genuinely believes that everything that he says is basically the gospel. But
I'm going to try to think who you're talking about.
I know it's going to take you some time, but I personally know him. I like him, but I don't mind busting that guy's balls. But but for real, for me, and especially with the fact that I started doing this when I was 21. I'm like, who's going to listen to a 21-year-old on YouTube talk about fragrances? But now I'm 29.
No.
And I know it's terrible, isn't it? And
we've still got some years on you, man.
Yeah, we got you, big.
Well, fair enough then. So it was quite a weird moment when he said, well, just because, the Fragrance Apprentice said it doesn't mean you should get Melissa Imperial. And I was like, wait, people actually listen to what I say and they really take my recommendations quite seriously. And it was a moment of, well, actually, yes, they do. And you've got to be careful. Yeah.
To cut you off, I was saying that because I really liked your channel, and I was actually I was in Neiman Marcus, but they have like a small Creed boutique section or whatever. Yeah. And I was looking they had a set of 3 10 mil, basically travel atomizers of Millésime Impériale. I hadn't decanted, I hadn't got a sample, but in the store, I was really pressed to buy it just because I knew you thought so highly of it. Yeah. And I thought so highly of you and your content that it created a connection to that fragrance, even though I'd never smelled it before. And so we find it kind of funny too, because honestly, we freaked out whenever we tried Hasavat by Nichonnet. No. And we've had multiple listeners, because we went on and on about how great it is. And then we had multiple listeners email and go, this is shit. We hate this. And we were like, oops.
Yeah, whoopsie daisy. Yeah, well, I guess it's also a contextual thing of, I remember where I was when I smelled Melissa Imperial for the first time, and it was early in the journey, and Creed was a big deal. But there's also I don't want to know how much I want to give away my last video ever on this podcast. But all I'm going to say is it reminds me of a very, very specific thing in my youth, in my childhood, a very specific place. No. And when I smelt it, I was just there. And it's a really, really strong memory and strong association. And so you've got that initial memory of Melissa Imperial reminds me of this.
Right.
But then I've built on it. And I went to India, and I went to Los Angeles wearing Melissa Imperial. And all of these life events, big life events that I sort of held Melissa Imperial off for, right? So when I knew that there was a big life event going on, I'd be like, I'm going to wear Melissa Imperial because that's special. But then it starts to double down, and it's a domino effect. And
for
now
sure.
When I smell Melissa Imperial, I'm smelling multiple instances of big parts of my life. Right. And then you can't, and then, it becomes kind of ridiculous. And so I do build it up and do build it up and do build it up. But then somebody's going to walk into the store, like nearly shaking with all of the recommendation I've given it. They're going to smile and go, watermelon and sea salt. And that's all they get.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I've got this place and this experience, and the first time I walked off the plane in Los Angeles, which is a dream.
Right.
You've got all these emotional things, but somebody's just going to smell Melissa Imperial and go, it's watermelon and sea salt for 30 minutes, and then it's gone. $200. This guy's high, right? So I totally get it.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of talk about that because we are talking about scent memories and things like that. So where did it begin? Where did the fragrance journey start with you?
This is an interesting story. I had just turned 19, so I've actually been collecting fragrances for 10 years. I'm thinking of doing 10 years, 10 fragrances, like a list, a sacrilegious top 10 list. But
you just had a breakdown on those, man.
I know, but I've recovered. But that was something else. I didn't think that video was going to do very well, actually, but boy, was I wrong. And it was one of the times I was very happy to be wrong. Sometimes after a while, you just got to do one video for you.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
100%.
But, I was 19, and you're in that zone where you're about to turn 20, and you start going, right, am I a kid or am I a man? What's going on?
Yeah.
And I was kind of in this weird thing where, like, am I a kid? Am I a man? What do I do? And for some reason, Diesel Only the Brave comes on as an advert. And for some reason, I was like, I'll buy my own fragrance. That's such a manly adult thing to do.
Right.
Right? Because I thought, haha, I'm not being, because like I'd be gifted fragrances. And I was like, oh no, I'm taking the reins, buddy. I'm going to be buying this fragrance on my terms. Right? I'm taking control. I'm an adult, right? And so I buy it, blind buy it, 75 milliliter. And I'm like, I have no idea what this smells like. Oh, oh, damn. And so I go onto YouTube. I type in Diesel and the Brave looking for reviews. And there was some kind of like whatever reviews. And I was like, whatever. What are some really good reviews? What are some like really good fragrances? And then I popped my cherry and I experienced my first ever top 10, which was top 10 most complimented. And the rest is history. Top 10 brought me into this world. Top 10 will kick me out of this world inevitably.
Almost took you out,
Almost took me out. Yeah, I think it was like, I brought you into fragrance. I have the right to take you out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, our parents have all said that, right?
Yeah,
I brought you into this world and I can take you out just as easy.
Yeah. So there you go.
That's awesome. So whose top 10 was it?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
Oh, well, he doesn't do videos anymore. It was a guy called Hero, Miguel, and he was kind of the Jeremy of the time.
Okay.
Oh, good.
But he was infectious, and this was a time where top 10 videos were rare.
No.
Right? I know. You can't imagine it, right? It's like trying to it's like for these Generation Z, it's like trying to imagine the world without internet, right?
Right. Or memes for that matter.
Or without memes. Like how could civilization have existed without those dank, spicy memes? So he would do reviews, and that's a lost art. And there was some outrageously priced fragrances. 75% of which I now own. And I remember like when he reviewed Reflection Man, I was like, the way that he talked about it, like the way that he talked about compliments, he was like, if you wear Reflection Man and you walk into anywhere, everybody will just stop. Everybody will stop and look at you and they'll be like, oh my God, you smell amazing. I want to get to know you, give you money, love you. All for £170, right? Yeah. And to a 19-year-old, you believed it. You completely believed it. Yeah. But like you're also 19, so you don't have any money. And so I had to buy like Louis de L'Homme and small little designer things. And it built and built and built. And it took me 3 years to get the guts to start a YouTube channel.
You started off strong because I was actually showing Ryan, one of your first videos was one for like Tobacco Oud. It was like a noir based one. Yeah. We're kind of cinephiles in that way. We love movies and we get into making videos and stuff like that. And I said, hey, watch this video and just listen to it. Just close your eyes, listen to the audio.
Yes.
And you killed the performance and the audio, like the way it had like the tinniness to it. It's like, it was there, it reminded me of going back, and I got really into film noir here, like probably 2 years ago, just watched as many as I could. And I was like, by Jove, I believe he's got it.
By George, I believe he's got it.
100%.
Yeah, well, I had a little phase of noir films as well. I had a phase of like a year, but then after a year, I was like, I get it now. Like there is a definite formula. So yeah, Tobacco Oud was kind of like, I thought, yeah, it's like a noir movie. And so I started getting experimental, and I did notice that there wasn't a lot of that kind of thing going on. And why, in one way, why should there be? Right. And, I think that Ashton is, in my opinion, one of the greatest reviewers of all time. Jensen's, for those of you who don't know. And I think he's actually, objectively speaking, he's a better reviewer than I am, because he comes in, he's kind of fun, but he's like, this, and this.
Yeah.
No.
And then, and for any casual person, they're going to be like, I wonder what that new fragrance smells like. And you click onto his video and he goes, it smells like this, and it's this, and it's that. And they go, great.
Right.
And they click on, but maybe another guy's like, I wonder what this fragrance smells like. And then they catch my video, and I'm like, before we even start, I need you to know how I feel about this. I was in a coffee shop one day, and it was raining, and I looked at something, and it reminded me of something when I was 7 years old. Let me tell you that in detail. And it was like, what does it smell like? Right. Right. So in one way, I'm very appreciative of the comments that people, lovely comments that people say, but I also get that there are some people who are like, I don't get what this guy, can he just tell me, what does it smell like? Does he get compliments? How much is it? Leave me alone. Right. So, nobody was doing it. And in a way, there wasn't too much of a reason to do it, but I did it anyway.
Well, you can definitely tell you got some chops when it comes to filming and editing. And we were just we had Cam from Carolina Fragrance on the other day, and we were complimenting him or giving him kudos for constantly putting up video work. And I have to say, also kudos to you. And again, I think it's something we understand as far as it's very laboring, and it's got to be something you really enjoy. And you can definitely tell you enjoy creating a story, and not just here's the list of things you want to know, And so
because even the timing on some of these edits, it's not just like a rip and read and then you put it up. You can tell like you're pushing in at a certain moment. You're going to cut the music here. You're going to go back out to wide or whatever, just to hammer the timing of that joke down. And that's all done. A lot of it's done in post, and it takes time. And, there's intentionality behind it to add something extra for the viewer. You're taking a little extra care. So I think the deeper you get into the fragrance game, it's like you kind of do start out with the scent gents and some of like the straight up, just give me the gold. But then once you really get into it and have like an affinity for enjoying the fragrances, then you want more personality in the review just as much as you do in the fragrance. So
exactly. And very smart take to put your soul into a video, because it probably allows you to still enjoy making this kind of content, I would assume.
Yes. Well, there's got to be something in it for me, creatively.
Yeah.
Because, it's good to do the top 10s to keep the channel healthy. And people kind of misunderstand some things, but it's important to know that you've got to play the game a little bit. So say, for example, there are some of my fans or subscribers, I don't know if I'm even comfortable calling them fans, followers, subscribers, ne'er-do-wells, I don't know, whatever it is. But they will be like, George, give me the art, give me the story. And I'm like, dude, I wish I could give you the story and art every single time.
Yeah.
But you're not playing the YouTube game. And what happens is, say you have that one fan who's like, he's the hardcore art fan. If I'm not doing my job for YouTube as well as doing what I want to do, YouTube will stop recommending me, and it will stop recommending everything. It will stop recommending the art as well as the top 10 things. So it's kind of like a balancing act, and I have accidentally put myself into a weird position where I'll do the art and then I'll do like a top 10 or a very algorithmic video. And people will be like, why are you doing this? And I'll be like, well, I do enjoy doing top 10s because I know that they're for beginners. They're for people who haven't seen it. And, you know, a top 10 got me into this.
Yeah.
Right. And I respect that. And it's got to be a mutual respect between me, the beginner, the YouTube algorithm, and everybody else. And so you do that, and then you do the 3-hour video about Duron that nobody asked for, or something like that, or like how I don't know, CK1 has a weird connection with the falling of the Ottoman Empire or something. And everybody's like, what's going on, right? And you do that video, but that video is being cushioned by all of the other videos, so it will still get recommended, and it will still do well. And so you can't please all the people all the time, and sometimes it's difficult to please some of the people some of the time, but it is a tightrope, and I try to walk it as best as I can. I don't always do it, but I try.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that. That's a good way to put it, because you do, when you see somebody who has like this certain thing they do, this potential that goes above and beyond and gives you something you really enjoy, then you see them kind of what people quickly jump to say, shilling or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, then you're kind of let down. You're like, this guy's doing this thing that I despise that everyone else is doing. But it kind of makes sense that you kind of, to defend, it's kind of like you have to do it for the art. It's like you kind of, it's like, I got to do this to make sure that people still get the other thing, you know?
There are some people, I did a period where I did just mostly art videos. And then I did a top 10. So I did 4 art videos, 1,000, 2,000 views over like a month. Then I did a top 10, and suddenly people were commenting like, "Oh my God, you've been gone for a month."
Great.
And these are people who are big fans of the art videos.
Right.
And I have to go, "Oh, you just missed 4 of my videos." But it's not. It's YouTube. YouTube will punish you, and it will punish you by taking you out of people's subscription boxes, out of their recommendation boxes. Obviously, you have the people who will search, who will go onto your channel and whatever. But YouTube's fast. They've got other people who they're going to watch. You know, the Fragrance Apprentice is something that they'll watch if they see it, which is fine, completely fair enough. But you actually have to do the top 10 algorithmic new stuff to keep YouTube happy with you.
Right. I almost stay on that home screen, and I'm on YouTube a lot, almost all day, every day. Just as a form of entertainment. Like, I don't watch Netflix or anything. Like, I'm primarily on YouTube, but I primarily stay on that home screen.
Homepage,
which means I really am just kind of eating out of what the algorithm gives me rather than doing searches. So, good point.
Yeah, and fair enough. And fair enough. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what I do. That's what YouTube's designed to do.
Right.
But the only problem there is that it's got the content creators by the balls.
True.
And so whenever you see me doing an egregiously terrible top 10, like I'm going to be doing my top 10 favorite designers right now. Look, I do enjoy doing them, and I do enjoy because it does help a lot of people out. And some people, they just don't have time. They just want to know what my 10 favorites are, or what this and that and the other. That's just what they want to know. And that's fine, and that works. But now, the next video that I do, which is the falling of the Ottoman Empire and how Julius Caesar and what Julius Caesar and Green Irish Tweed have in common, something like that.
right.
They'll be like, oh, it's George. I'll click it.
yeah. You better be planning these videos because somebody's going to steal them.
Oh my god! I can't wait for for Dallas's interpretation of for Chaos Fragrance's interpretation of that video. So it's tough, but in the end, what I did was I went for a compromise, and I'm having an absolute mental breakdown over this, and so I did that video.
Well, that kind of makes me want to piggyback on to another question that we had was, and it's kind of getting straight to the point, so forgive me being so blunt, but
sure.
Do you feel like as content creators that you owe it to your viewership to be pretty honest in what you talk about on your channel as far as what you believe in a fragrance or don't believe in?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any sponsors. I don't have I did an affiliate link in 2019. I joined an affiliate program because it was like the cool hip thing to do.
Right.
And so I'd be putting like affiliate links and if in the description, and then if people watched the video and clicked on that and then bought it, I'd get a commission. And I did it for about 3 months, and I just felt filthy. I just felt as though I had to go and take a shower, and I just went, "No, this is creepy. This is kind of creeping me out a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't like it." And I went, "You're not a reviewer. You're a salesman."
Yeah.
And it kind of. I thought, no, I this isn't right. This isn't what I want to do. So, in the end, there was like this thing that I had to do. I hadn't filled in the authentication or something, or authentication. I don't know. I can't speak. And in the end, I just let it run out. And I just went, no, I don't want to do that, because I thought, I can tell myself that won't influence what I'm doing. But I'd want there to be no doubt.
Right.
And so now, because I think that Creed Viking Cologne is egregious. If I find out that anybody has bought Viking Cologne full retail price, I'm calling the police. I'm going to call the police, and and they're going to be arrested for murdering in cold blood innocent money.
Right.
Right. But Creed Viking is like $500, and if there's an affiliate link and I get 10% of that, I don't think Creed Viking Cologne's that bad. I could just, I don't know if I'd go down that route, but I wanted there to be just no doubt. And I just went, no, I just want to just tell the truth. And because that's part of the fun. Yeah. Part of the fun is getting a flamethrower to certain fragrances and saying like, this is awful and terrible. And some of the best reviews that I've seen of like film reviewers, like Red Letter Media, if you're familiar with them, or I don't know, yourmoviesocks.org. These guys, some of the most fun that I've ever had watching them is when they're just ripping a film to shreds and they're right.
Yeah. Go check out our Aspen episode.
Yeah.
We just lose it. And we were just saying that we're going to start doing some more cheapies again, just because it's really fun to just go hard on something,
Yeah.
It's like even when you don't like a fragrance, like Millesime Imperial, for me, I just really don't like aquatic or that kind of salty type stuff. And so I really don't like it, but I can still smell like, oh, this smells like at least high quality. Yeah. It doesn't smell like hairspray.
Thought
yeah. So it's like hard to really trash something. It's like, I know that if say I hated hamburgers and I went and tried the world's best hamburger, I'd probably still hate it, but I could be like, well, this is still for what it is.
Yeah.
It's great, you know? So with the cheapies, it's like, it just smells bad no matter what. So you can just go ham on them, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. And there are some fragrances where I smell them and I go, I don't get it. But I know technically on a technical basis that it's done well.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just not my thing. Like most of the amouages, 75% of the amouages, I smell them and I go, okay, well, if I ever need to smell like cemented bricks, I know where to come.
Right. Yeah.
High quality cemented bricks with some lemon drizzled on it. I know that's the fragrance for me, but I don't get it. You know?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, and I'm probably way off,
Okay.
but did you at one time work with Jeremy Fragrance?
Yeah.
You did? Is it
Yeah.
okay? So is that where the Fragrance Apprentice name came from?
Oh dear Lord, no.
Okay. I'm confused. I thought.
Who told you that? Finally.
I think I heard through some sort of internet ramble. My assumption was that you were doing video. You were helping him with video, and then you did your own thing. Okay.
No, sir. I believe that I had a channel 2 months before Jeremy Fragrance had his channel.
If you'd had the white Speedos going on, you'd be way ahead of him. But
well, you know, I just don't want to get too big for my britches on my Speedos. No, so it was Mark. No, I'm an old school. I'm probably one of the last standing of that era. So Mark Robes 08. If you've ever heard of him.
I haven't.
Oh, man. Right. So Robes 08 was the guy. There was Hero, who was Jeremy Fragrance, and Robes 08 was kind of like Ashton.
Okay.
And he was the fragrance guru.
Oh, okay.
The fragrance guru. Right. He has such an effect. Like, his channel has maybe not... I don't know how to put this. His channel has remained very, very solid for the hardcore fans. Right? But you have to understand that if I watch a Mark video now, to this day, and I hear his voice, I'm like, oh, the boss is here. I'm going to learn now.
Yeah,
because
okay.
like he was the guy.
Yeah.
He really was. I made the Fragrance Apprentice because he was the fragrance guru. And I was his apprentice.
This is Robes 08? Is what you're talking?
Robes 08, yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that because just today we have a friend of the podcast that messages us on Instagram, and they were excited about this interview today, and they said that they are like hardcore fans of you. His name is Tobias, by the way.
Right. Hi, Tobias.
He is a hardcore fan of yours and Robes 08, and he had mentioned him today. So you're linked up with the person you kind of admire there.
Well, that's amazing, and you know, Mark Robes 08 was, I know he's still in my mind the guy. It's difficult. Some channels that were very older, I don't know, they didn't kind of go with the times.
Yeah,
that's horrible to say, but no, I saw it coming. With what was going to happen, and that reviewing fragrances was basically going to become like film and showbiz. In fact, here's the ironic thing. Here's the most ironic thing about my channel. When I started, and I brought in the editing and the cinematography, everybody saw me as the weird kid, and everybody was like, "What's this?"
Right.
But I stuck it out for 6 years.
There you go.
And now the Fragrance Apprentice is being interviewed on here, not Robes 08.
That's right. I don't even know who the fuck that guy
Right? I love you, Mark. You know I love you. You know I adore you. I'm still the Fragrance Apprentice. You're still the guru. But I find it ironic that I was the weird kid.
Yeah.
Like, what's this guy doing with his camera angles and everything? But I was like, I'll stick it out. I'll stick this gig out.
I'm glad you did.
And now I'm the cool kid.
That's right.
For the time being. So it's an incredible turn of events.
This will be a very subjective question.
Okay.
But what do you feel like, since you've pretty much been in it before? I feel like there was this bubble that happened right now. Everybody's a fragrance reviewer, including two jackasses in Texas.
Us.
But
got a jackass in England that you're speaking to, so I agree.
What do you think the fragrance community is missing?
Yeah.
A top fragrance channel that can be taken seriously.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is an exclusive that you're going to get here. Are you aware of the Cody Co video where he's like, try not to laugh, Jeremy Fragrance? It's a huge video. Yeah.
Yes. I haven't watched it, but I've seen the thumbnail like probably 28 times.
So I'm thinking of making top 5 fragrance recommendations for Cody Co. And in that video, I'll explain to him why fragrance is not just getting the women and all that kind of stuff. It's also quite a serious thing for some people.
Sure. Yeah.
As a person, I really get on with Jeremy. I really do get on with him. And, lovely guy. And I worked with him for a week. But is he the optimal representation of what this is about? You could make the argument that no. And unfortunately, as long as the top guy is kind of seen as this chaotic circus of madness,
right?
It's a trickle-down effect. And so everybody thinks that. If you had, if Ashton was the top guy, if Michelle Curly Fragrance was the top lady, and they were that representation, I think that FragCon would be seen would be seen and see itself very differently.
I could see that.
Well, I got to ask you then another question, and feel free to tell me to fuck off about it. You don't have to answer.
I do a lot,
but okay. But since you've worked with him for a week or whatever,
given the preface, we have an assumption.
Yeah, we have an assumption. We think that, and kudos to him if it is. We think it's a show.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I feel like behind closed, what we feel like behind the cameras, he's a totally different person.
He's probably down to earth and chill.
He is quite down to earth and chill. My honest answer goes something like this.
It's just the three of us, okay? Nobody's listening.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Right. My honest answer goes something like this. I think that he thinks what he's doing is a good idea.
I could see that.
It's an act to a degree.
Yeah.
But I think that he feels as though it's being it should be interpreted in a very different way to how it actually is.
No.
Right? I think that when he's talking about power and maximum, which he talks about in real life.
Yeah.
And he's very genuine about it, and he's very passionate about it. And he is a lovely guy. And it is tough because, I don't speak to him that much anymore, but I really get on with him.
Yeah.
Really get on with him. He's he's definitely an eccentric guy, but I mean, talk about calling the kettle calling the pot black, right? But I feel as though he's got an interpretation how he thinks it's going down,
Yeah.
And then there's the reality of the situation.
Right.
And they're two different things.
For sure. Something's lost in translation.
I don't think that he fully sees like the chaos that's created.
Right. Yeah. He doesn't cross me as a guy who sits on his material for a while and kind of reassesses and then goes, yeah, this is good. I'll push this out. It's kind of like, yeah, it was good in the moment. You know, us, we'll make something, we'll like watch it or listen to it for a few days and then we'll be like, yeah, it's good. You know, it's out. And then sometimes we're like, ooh, you know, we've still put stuff out that we're like, wow, that was terrible. But, you know, well, you got to do it sometimes. But
yeah.
Well, I remember one of my favorite memories is we shot a video. There was a period where I shot his morning routine. If you've seen that, that was me. That was my idea, actually.
That's amazing.
And but we shot a video at like Universal Studios or something. And I sit down and I start editing it, and he was like, "How long did it take? How long did it take?" Yeah. And I said, "Oh, this will take like 3 hours." And he goes, "Why?" And I'm like, "Because I got to edit it. Got to make it good. Got to make it great." And he's like, "It taken me 20 minutes to edit." And I go, "Yeah, I can see that." Right? And so I lost his balls there. And he said, "But no, why all this editing?" And so what I had to say to him was this. I said, "Dude, do you go to the gym? You go to the gym, right?" Obvious question. He's like, "Yes." I go, "And you do your arms, you do your chest?" "Yes." You go, "How long do you do it for?" And he goes, "Until it hurts." And I go, "That's me, Jeremy. I edit until it hurts." Right? So
100%.
And then actually, honestly, as soon as I said that, he was like, "Okay, continue."
That's amazing. Good Lord. Well, we're slowly connecting with people in the fragrance community. We're still very young, and as far as fragrances go, we're noobs, you know, we're just now kind of getting into it. In fact, we do have Reflection Man. We have a decant of it. We still haven't smelled it yet because it's like we're trying to wait for the show, you know, but the excitement builds up and you're like, oh, I want to do it. So we're still kind of waiting on that stuff. But I feel like you are pretty connected in with all these guys. And one of the things that we did a review of Smolder for Chris from Fragmental.
Yeah.
And the interaction with him was very brief online, but it was another one of these things where I was telling Ryan, I was like, I can tell this guy's a nice guy.
Yeah.
It seems like he's a good dude.
No.
Yeah.
Can you confirm that?
No. Absolute arsehole. I mean, you want to talk about it's a show. Worse than Jeremy. Jesus. Yeah, like, it's kind of weird because there is the inside and the out. There is kind of like a disconnect because, like, I know that I've become truly friends with somebody in the fragrance community is when I ring them, I have a 2-hour conversation and we haven't mentioned fragrances once.
Yeah.
That's my cutoff point, really. Because, like, I'll ring various sort of different people. I'm actually quite good friends with Andrea, Curly Sense.
Okay.
And I'll just ring her and we'll talk. We won't even mention fragrance one time. And that's when I know that it's kind of comfortable. Did you know that he genuinely surprised me in Edinburgh? I was in Edinburgh for my birthday this year. And Chris said, "Oh, I can't make that one. I'm going camping with family." You know, because he's from the north. Yeah. And I was like, damn it. Anyway, I get to Edinburgh. And my girlfriend's like, "Oh, we've got to go to I'm going to take you to this club specifically at 8:00. We can't be late." And I'm like, "If we're just going to a club, what have they got? Is there a curfew? What's going on?" Right.
Drink specials.
So, yeah. So we get to the Voodoo Rooms in Edinburgh, and it's 8:00, and my girlfriend's just standing and looking and waiting, and I'm like, What's happening? What's happening, right?" And then, bam, Chris appears. And he's so chill. Like, he's like, right, let's, like the way that he does, he's actually like that in real life. He's like, right then, lads, let's get the party started. Right? Like, he's still in presenter mode. He's actually like that. He's like, he could have literally easily just come in and it's like, hello, welcome to Fragmental. Today we're going to be surprising the absolute shit out of you. I was just like, oh my God. And I just grabbed him and hugged him. And this is true. It's amazing. But then the night got weird because a guy walked in who looked exactly like George Zaharoff.
Oh, Lord.
If you know George Zaharoff, right?
Yes.
And I was like, and George Zaharoff's here as well? and he looked, and Chris looked at him and went, that doesn't look like George Zaharoff. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm just having a weird... And then I saw another guy who I thought looked somewhat like Victor Wong, and I thought, what's happening? Like, has my drink been spiked? What's happening? Like, but no, it was only Chris. But it was amazing. But yeah, he's lovely. He is genuinely like my best friend, I'd say.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, he had, we did the review, and then they have a podcast as well. Scent Geeks, right?
They've never invited me. Screw
well,
that podcast.
Turns out,
what an inferior podcast. What a terribly inferior fragrance podcast. Not like this one.
Capture that, Ryan.
Okay, we got you.
Not like the Cologne pod, which I'm hearing is a greatly better.
Biggest in the game
podcast
is what I think they say. Which is funny because I know at least across the pond, Cologne is just like a concentration. But I feel like unless you get really deep into the fragrance community here, everybody is just like, oh, that's a Cologne, that's a Cologne, that's a Cologne. Yeah. So when we first got into it, that was our thought too. And we were like, why is the Cologne podcast not taken?
Yeah.
We're like, surely, we're like, we're just geniuses, apparently. But so I know, like, it's like nobody's even searching for that because they're probably searching for fragrance podcast or whatever. Yeah. But Chris, we had done the review, and then they said some like really nice things on their podcast about our podcast, and I would, which is weird because I'm sure in the video side it's highly competitive, even though you guys do collaborate a lot. It was nice to see like some camaraderie, you know.
Yeah.
And like
good.
We had even we had talked to him before, and I'm sure we'll link up with those guys at some point. But maybe you can shed some light on this. From what we've experienced, there's a lot of collaborative nature in the fragrance community, at least with content creators. Do you get that a lot, or do you feel like there is quite a bit of competition?
I think that it is a small community, but it's growing. And it is getting I think it's different generations of fragrance reviewer. Right. I think that the generation that I came up in, like, but generations are like, what, every year now, every 2 years in fragrance, because it's moving so fast, right? But mine was, me, like, that year, the big three channels were the Fragrance Apprentice, Chad, A Gentleman's Journey, and Lex Ellis. Right, and Lex Ellis disappeared, and Chad, Gentleman's Journey, still chugging along, and then there's just kind of me, and so there wasn't a lot of people, and so whenever I see a new fragrance reviewer, my instinct is to just kind of like try and help them and support them, but that has waned a little bit because now like everybody and their dog wants to be a fragrance reviewer, and that's when it gets tough. Yeah. That's when it gets tough. And I feel very, very, like, I know that if I wanted to start a fragrance channel now, I would be up against it. But, I think that I was probably like the 22nd fragrance reviewer ever.
Of all time.
All time. Right? Or something like that. So I had a real unfair advantage.
But you're number one to us.
Yes.
Well, I mean, this is the number one podcast, fragrance-wise, so it's fair enough. Yep. And
get that audio.
I'm number two for Jeremy. I bloody work for Jeremy, and I'm only number two for him. I mean,
that's hilarious. Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, we had we interviewed Cam, and then Cam was talking about the collab video that all you guys did, and of course we went and watched it, and we were like, okay, we're bringing this up.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. Your delivery is perfect.
Yeah.
I think that there are some moments I do where I'm like, I rarely think to myself, okay, that's legitimately a funny thing that I've done. There's only 2 things that I've probably ever done. Well, 3, if you include the Tyrannosaurus Rex review that I did.
I almost watched that today. I need to watch that.
Okay, we need to watch it.
Okay, that's probably one of my finest moments, and I'm very critical of myself. Very critical of myself. But my 2 favorite jokes I've ever made. One is on that the mental breakdown one. Is where the piano music starts playing, and then I look to my right, and it's a video that's playing on YouTube on a laptop. I loved that, and nobody commented about it. And I was like, oh, but I thought it was good. But my second favorite is when I'm saying to Chris, well, I've got a wife and 2 children.
Oh, yeah. But I've got this picture of
Becky Lynch. Yeah.
Oh man,
no, that was great. That was a lot of fun to do.
Well, the one thing I took from that video was like, I really did want to try those cookies that Chris made.
They were good.
Oh man. Well, rounded on back, because I know we've kept you a little bit. What is one thing? Mind. Okay, well, hell, let's go on forever.
I'm thinking, how long is this bloody podcast going to be? I'm so sorry.
No, we're just having a good time. One thing that we do try to really kind of push out is a lot of people contact us and they say, hey, you guys are what they would consider normal, everyday kind of people, you know?
Right.
And there's a lot of people out there that are kind of really starting to get into fragrances, but then it's like, for some reason, people think they're going to think I'm weird because I like fragrances. So there's something that they kind of get out of us that they go, oh, well, if, you know, I feel normal because it feels like these 2 guys are halfway normal or whatever, which we're not.
Yeah.
No.
But so give a little bit of encouragement, I guess, to our listeners, which, I mean, you have plenty and you're putting a lot of positive vibes out there. But what's one thing that you really love about the fragrance community that maybe feels welcoming to the guys that are listening to us?
I don't think it's as welcoming as it once was. That's the honest answer. I think as though I do feel a little bit. I think also because I am a reviewer, I've seen sort of like the darker kind of side of it, and that like people can get really, really intense, 100%. And there are purists, and there's this and that, and I'm like, look, I get it, but those are people who don't have they don't really have much in their life apart from their interests, and they don't have like love and relationships and stuff like that. So the only thing that grounds them is material things. Fragrance to me is kind of a form of self-expression. And what I would say is you don't buy fragrances to watch reviews about fragrances. You buy fragrances to go out and live your life. Right?
100%.
So, you know, it's all fine and dandy. If you bought Milicia Imperial or any of my recommendations, the worst thing that I would want is for you to buy, I don't know, I'm talking about ombre leather a lot now, is you get ombre leather and then you just sit back in your chair and you watch me talk about ombre leather and you spray it on you and you go, no, go out,
right?
Go out, have the time of your life, enjoy yourself, meet people, you know, get into relationships, do exciting things, do the things that you want to do, travel, experience, love life, wearing ombre leather. Everybody says, wow, you smell good. And then in 10 years, you know, you smell ombre leather and you go, I remember when that was me. Yeah. I remember all those times. You know, the YouTube Fragcom is the beginning, but it's never the end. Go out and experience your life and smell fantastic whilst doing it.
phenomenal answer.
Yeah, man. I'm like,
Had to drop the mic on us.
I was about to wipe a few tears away because my lips started quivering. I saw like a British flag behind you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
We make light, but that is the reality of it. There are real people going through real things, and it's okay to just enjoy something.
Yeah,
for itself.
1 hour video.
Yeah,
I did. That's telling that story.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if you want to dip into that, but I mean,
do we have time?
We've got as much time as you want, man.
Okay, cool. Okay. I'm sorry. It's because usually your stuff is like 15 minutes, and they're going to be like, people can be like 2 hours. Oh, it's the fragrance. Oh, no.
It's like he talked for an hour and he was just by himself in that one video.
Now he's got people encouraging it. Oh, God.
Right.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I mean,
what do you want to know?
So we've had a couple people write in, and the thing that we really do enjoy is that when people are going through kind of a hard time for whatever reason, when they reach out, we're lucky in that we don't have. You are exposed to so many people that you get the good and the bad. But right now, it's like we've only gotten the people that have actively searched us out. So it's primarily positive. Yeah. And we'll get a lot of stuff, a lot of people writing in that will say, hey, this is going on in my life, but just want to let you guys know, hey, this last episode you put out really struck home to me, or they got a good laugh out of it, or they said, hey, Myke, what you were saying about your grandmother, like I have that same story, or I have that same scent memory with this thing. You know what I mean? So your video you put out was very vulnerable, very honest about what was going on in your life, and it was tied to fragrances and the ones that you liked. And you can give us the abridged version, but just that the like how scents and fragrances really do kind of marry themselves to moments in our lives, and it is a special thing. Yeah.
Well, the abridged version, I think, because it's really about Durham, and that's the one that was the talking point. That was the one. So in April, I got pericarditis, and I feel as though I should say this because a few people have asked me this. And they've said, well, is that because you got the vaccine? And the answer is no. No. But interestingly, I don't want to go too much into this, but I didn't have the vaccine. I did not have the vaccine, got pericarditis, and at the hospital they said, don't take the vaccine for a month because you have pericarditis.
No.
And so that was kind of wild that a doctor would even say that. And lots of people have said, well, did you get pericarditis because of the vaccine, because all that kind of stuff? But no, I didn't. And I haven't had the vaccine since because I'm kind of nervous now. That kind of stuck with me when they said, oh, you shouldn't take that because of what you had. That made me a little bit nervous. But I digress. And that's kind of actually the point. It made me lose confidence in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Including myself. Because it was a wild illness, and it was an illness I'd never heard of, and they're the worst. If somebody said, oh, you'd have the flu, even if somebody had said, you've got COVID, I'd be like, okay, there's a plan of action. But when they said, oh, you've got this thing that's rare for your age and everything like that, I was like, I don't know how to navigate this. And so you lose your confidence, and you lose your stride, and you lose your momentum. And I developed sort of a bit of anxiety about my health, which is very unusual for me. I'm usually quite a confident and quite chilled person. In the end, I had a huge panic attack, went to the hospital. My heart's going at 151 beats per minute. They do the ECG, they do everything. And this doctor sits me down and he says, George, you're fine. And I was angry at him. I was like, I'm not. And he was like, no, you're fine. And I was like, okay, I'm fine. This is the reality. I've got to calm down. And so I did. And now things have really turned for me. I'm very confident. Lost quite a bit of weight since then. I was like I don't know, I was like 160, 165 pounds, and I'm like really short, so that's a lot. That's like a lot for me. But I've really kind of shed that now. And 2 months ago, I smelled Durom, and just a lot of good memories and a lot of great associations came back. Whenever I wore Durom, it was usually because I was going out and I was being an absolute dickhead. Right? Like, just going out with friends in Manchester and, you know, speaking to many, many women and getting rejected by all of them. Right. But I didn't care too much because I was like having fun with my friends and going out and drinking and stuff like that. Durom was like my life of the party smell. You
didn't tell him you were like this big popular YouTuber? That didn't help at all?
I was like, darling, I'm the Fragrance Apprentice.
Number 2.
Number 2, yeah. Well, darling, I've got hundreds of subscribers. You know? And you know what? For some reason, it didn't work. I can't imagine why. But
shocker.
Shocker, yeah. And I was wearing Durom, so I don't know what's going. Maybe I just got a bad batch or something. But yeah, so like, but it was a really fun time. I wouldn't say it was exactly carefree, but it was a more naive time, and it was time that you could burn, right? Early 20s. And so I smelled Durom, and I was like, I just kind of remembered how I used to be. And it was kind of cathartic because I thought, that's why I used to be. I used to have a lot of fun, but I'm not that guy anymore. But I still have that potential to have a lot of fun with my life and enjoy myself. And now that fragrance is ombre leather. That's my new Durom.
The Parfum or the EDP or?
Just the regular EDP. Mm-hmm. I mean, I haven't smelled the Parfum. I've heard, or Parfum. I've heard mixed things. I'm not in a rush. I'm not in a rush to smell it. I'm not, you know.
Well, don't let us sway you. But I think, did you settle on that you like the EDP more?
I like the original more.
Yeah, same here.
I've heard that. I've heard that from other people. So that's why I'm not in a rush.
Yeah.
It's like cozy to smell ombre leather, to me at least.
That was one of the first ones. I mean, it was legit Dolce & Gabbana Pour Homme, then Spice Bomb, then ombre leather. That was it.
Fair enough.
That was number 3. So it's a nice and cozy one as well. Any other questions that are burning over there, Ryan?
Well, I mean, I think we should wrap it up because we definitely are running out of space. But I want to say first, you know, thank you for coming on here and kind of bearing all with us. And to kind of touch quickly, I won't try to one-up your story or dabble too much into my past.
He does this all the time. I can't believe you're doing it with a guest, Ryan.
But, you know, I was telling him when we were watching the video the other day and you were talking about having your illness, I was like, man, that's so crazy because it happened about eight years ago. But to sum it up, I got really sick and I got hospitalized and they couldn't figure out what it was. And it felt like it was an elephant on my chest. And they ran tests. I mean, they were like, have you left the United States? Which I hadn't. They were trying to test me for Mediterranean fever and everything else and thought maybe I had tuberculosis, whatever. Went through the whole gamut and you're being tested, but nobody knows. And then
that's the worst. You're like in an episode of House.
It's crazy. Yeah. And then, you know, my daughter was really young. She's still young. She's 9 now, but she was probably 3 or 4 then. And so she's like this innocent creature. And I'm thinking I'm going to miss out on all that. But,
oh, God.
But when you come out of that, you do, like you said, you feel so vulnerable. And I did have anxiety. And literally the exact same thing happened to me. We have a local hospital here. And I rushed over there. And this was after I'd gotten better. Yeah. And I never figured out what it was, by the way. Just was sick.
Man.
But, I went to the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack just like them. And they were the same thing. And they were like, hey, dude, you're fine. maybe get off your fat ass and walk around, get the blood flowing, maybe feel better about life, go enjoy yourself. Literally, they told me to just go enjoy yourself and stop stressing. And I've done better now, and I haven't lost any weight, but
he has gained some.
Yeah, I've gained plenty. Yeah. But thank you for bearing that to us and to opening up, and thank you for coming on to the show for sure.
Yeah, because I think I feel like the bigger you get, or the more your channel grows, my assumption would be the tendency would be to not be too vulnerable, because people blindly take shots all the time.
Yeah,
you can't control that.
Yeah,
well, I had a period where I'd get 10 comments where people would call me like literally a genius, and I'd be like. And then one comment would be like, "Yeah, no, you suck. You talk too much. Your hair's falling out, or like whatever it is."
Right.
And I'd think about that for like 2 days, and I went, "No. Oof, you got to get like either you get a handle on that, or you stop doing YouTube video." Like, I will get hate online, but a thing that really changed my perspective on that was the Euros. We had the Euro football competition here. And these guys playing football, they're playing frickin' football, right? If they lost a game, or something went wrong, or they didn't get a move right, or tactician, the online abuse.
Yes.
Yeah. Death threats. Yeah.
The online abuse is just like unfathomable. And so I had to make this kind of decision of, George, you're putting yourself out there. There are going to be people like that, and you can't do a damn thing about it.
Yeah.
100%.
And either it's your choice. Either you just go, fine, I can't control how you feel about me. I can't control that, and accept it and just keep going.
Right.
And stop being so disrespectful to the 10 people who just called you a genius.
Right. Yeah. The good outweighs the bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do actually think that. I was like, wait, you're disrespecting, you're putting your attention on that one person.
Right.
You are literally disrespecting the 10 people who just took time out of their day to tell you that they feel that you're great.
Yeah.
That's doing them a disservice. So either you get that handled, and to all the people who, don't like me, fine. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing that I could do.
Right.
It's out my hands.
It's
weird. Out my hands.
We were laughing because we made this little short promo for the interview we did with Cam.
Yeah.
And he posted it, and we were cracking up because it got, all these likes, but then there's like 2 thumbs down. And we were just laughing, going, we want to know the 2 people that were like, man, fuck these guys.
No. Like, there's nothing, you are completely and utterly powerless, and you have to embrace that you're completely powerless.
Yeah.
Or stop, because you're not cut out for it.
Yeah. I read this quote one time, and it really kind of grounds me in that thought. And it said, and I don't remember where it's from, but it said something like, people are going to love you, and people are going to absolutely hate you, and none of it has to do with you.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it's
interesting, yeah.
Because I do know, like, there are some people like Ryan that love me in spite of how much shit I give him constantly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's some people.
Yeah.
There's some people that absolutely hate me, and I haven't said 2 words to them, So I'm like, whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. Another quote that I always love is, stop trying to get approval from people that you wouldn't ask life advice about.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, there are people who will criticize you, and I'm like, yeah, but I wouldn't ask you about anything.
Right.
I wouldn't ask you for any advice on anything. So, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like we're winding down here. I hate to.
Yeah.
Well, hey, on that note, everybody that listens to us, y'all can, kiss his ass. I don't know.
Yeah, go share some love with him. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah.
People are telling him he's an idiot.
Nah.
Well, we'll go ahead and sign off, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode. It does mean an absolute.
I appreciate it, and I'm really sorry that you couldn't afford Ashton.
Well, we're taking all these corporate sponsors, so before long, all these ones that you're not taking, we're getting them.
Yep. That's fantastic.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right, man. Take care, and appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Well, I've been the Fragrance Apprentice. Subscribe to the Cologne podcast. Listen to them, enjoy them, and buy them a cup of coffee.
Man, for being the number 2 guy in the game, he's a pretty cool guy.
Still got a lot of heart.
Yeah.
Well, if you enjoyed today's episode, you want to see more like this, or you've got an idea for a fragrance that you want us to cover, hit us up, thecolognepodcast@gmail.com. And until next time, spray it up, y'all.